For 800 millennia, the stars had witnessed endless violence. The luminous Concord controlled the eastern spiral arms of the galaxy, while the Void Dominion ruled the western quadrants. Their war had continued so long that most species couldn't remember why it began. Supreme Commander Taiho sat in his command chair, watching tactical displays of yet another battle. His silver uniform gleamed under the harsh lights of the bridge. Thousands of ships engaged in a dance of destruction. Across the neutral zone, this was the 14th major offensive this cycle, routine by galactic standards. "Status report," Taiho ordered, his voice betraying no emotion. Officer Sunwoo bowed slightly. "Our third fleet has breached their outer defenses, Commander. The Wan mining colony on Zeri 7 will fall within the day." Taiho nodded. They would capture this system, hold it for perhaps a century, then lose it again when the Void Dominion developed a new weapon or strategy. The pattern had repeated countless times. Across the galaxy, High Imperator Jiwoo of the Void Dominion received similar reports. Her obsidian throne room contrasted sharply with the Concord's brightness, but the conversation was nearly identical. "The B. Zara's system will fall temporarily," her strategist Minjae explained. "But we've already developed countermeasures for deployment next season." "Acceptable losses," Jiwoo replied. "And our new bioweapon?" "Testing continues. The Concord's genetic adaptations have proven difficult to overcome." Neither leader questioned why they fought. The war was existence itself, a constant that defined their civilizations. Thousands of species had evolved, joined one side or the other, and sometimes gone extinct, all while the conflict continued. Meanwhile, on a small blue planet in an unremarkable star system, humans remained blissfully unaware of the galactic war. Earth had been surveyed millennia ago and deemed too primitive for recruitment by either side. The planet sat in a region considered strategically worthless, a blessing that allowed humanity to develop without interference. Captain Minho guided Earth's first true interstellar vessel, the Explorer, on its maiden voyage through the solar system. At 42, he represented humanity's finest, intelligent, curious, and determined. His 5-person crew handled their duties with professional efficiency as they approached Jupiter for gravitational assistance. "Captain, I'm detecting unusual energy readings," Systems Officer Jisung reported, frowning at his console. "Something's out there that doesn't match any known signature." Minho leaned forward. "Natural phenomenon?" "No, sir. The pattern suggests artificial origin. It's moving." The crew grew silent as Jisung refined the scanner data. What they'd discovered would have remained invisible to their instruments just 5 years earlier, a testament to how quickly human technology was advancing. "Put it on screen," Minho ordered. The image showed what was clearly a damaged spacecraft, tumbling slowly against the backdrop of Jupiter's swirling clouds. Its sleek design featured organic curves unlike anything humans had engineered. One section appeared blackened and torn open to vacuum. "Life signs?" Minho asked quietly. Medical Officer Hana checked her readings. "One very faint biosignature. Whatever's in there is dying." The decision took only seconds. Humanity's first contact would also be its first rescue mission. Hours later, the Explorer's airlock cycled open. The crew had managed to dock with the alien vessel and stabilize its failing life support. What stepped through looked almost like a tall human, but with iridescent skin and eyes too large for its slender face. It wore what appeared to be a uniform with symbols none could recognize. The alien swayed, clearly injured. Blood the color of amber seeped through a makeshift bandage on its side. "I am Hayuk," it said in perfect English, using a translation device, at its throat. "Scout pilot of the luminous Concord fleet." It looked at each human face in turn, seeming confused by their appearance. "You are not aligned?" Before anyone could respond, Hyuk collapsed. As Medical Officer Hana rushed forward, the alien whispered one more sentence that would change humanity's destiny forever. "You must help us. The war consumes everything." While Hayuk recovered in the medical bay, the Explorer's crew analyzed data from the scout ship. They discovered star charts marking thousands of battlefields, records of weapons that could destroy planets, and evidence of a conflict spanning nearly the entire galaxy. Earth had remained hidden in plain sight, too insignificant to notice in a war among the stars. But that protection had just ended. Humanity would soon face a choice: join one side, attempt neutrality, or try something no species had managed in 800,000 years: find a way to end the eternal conflict. The United Earth Council gathered in the Grand Hall of New Geneva. 50 representatives from all regions of Earth sat in tense silence as Ambassador Jin Young presented the findings from the explorers' encounter. "Pilot Hyuk has confirmed what the ship's data told us," she said, her voice calm despite the gravity of her words. "Two massive alliances have been at war for 800,000 years. They control most of the galaxy between them." Screens displayed images of the recovering alien and star maps showing the vast territories of the warring factions. Many council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "And they want us to choose a side?" asked the African Union representative. "The Luminous Concord does," Jin Young replied. "They consider rescuing their pilot as an act of alignment. The Void Dominion will likely make similar overtures once they learn of our existence." Council President Junsu stood, his weathered face grave. "What options do we have?" Military advisor Byung-seok stepped forward. "We could fortify our system and declare neutrality, but our technology is thousands of years behind theirs. Or we could join one side for protection." Jin Young shook her head. "There's another option. Hyuk has explained that neither side remembers why the war began. It's become ritual tradition, no one questions it anymore." She paused, looking at each council member. "Perhaps we need to question it." 3 months later, Earth's first diplomatic vessel, the Peacemaker, departed for the neutral station at the galaxy's core. Ambassador Jin Young led a team of 30 specialists selected for their expertise and unique perspectives. Their mission was unprecedented, not to join the war, but to understand and possibly end it. Communications specialist Subin stood at the observation deck as the ship emerged from its final jump. "Stars above," she whispered as the view cleared. Thousands of warships hovered in precise formation on opposite sides of the neutral zone. Even here, at the supposedly peaceful diplomatic station, both sides maintained battle-ready fleets. The Yao massive station floated between them, a ring-shaped structure large enough to house representatives from both coalitions without them ever needing to meet. Captain Minho guided the Peacemaker toward the docking bay, assigned to neutral parties. "Not many ships in this section," he noted. "There are few neutrals left," Subin replied. "Most species were absorbed or destroyed long ago." The human delegation was greeted by Kidu, a multi-limbed being who served as the station's administrator. "Your arrival is most unusual," it stated, eye stalk swiveling to examine them. "We rarely see new species here, especially ones that haven't chosen alignment." Jin Young bowed respectfully. "We're here to listen and learn before making any decisions." Kidu's translator device made a sound like laughter. "A refreshing approach. The conference chambers are prepared. Both sides have agreed to meet with you, separately, of course." The next days were filled with carefully choreographed meetings. The Luminous Concord representatives, led by Deputy Commander Hojin, presented their case with elegant rhetoric and displays of cultural achievement. They spoke of bringing order and enlightenment to the galaxy. The Void Dominion delegation, under Sub-Imperator Yuna, emphasized strength and innovation. Their presentations showcased technological marvels and promised Earth protection from the deceptive practices of their enemies. After each meeting, the human team gathered to compare notes. Historian Do Hyun noticed something important. "They're mirroring each other," he said. "Each side accuses the other of exactly the same crimes." Cultural analyst Jisoo nodded. "And neither can give a clear answer about how the war began. They have myths, not history." As the formal meetings continued, Jin Young encouraged her team to engage with lower-ranking station staff from both sides. These quieter conversations revealed unexpected similarities between ordinary people from opposing factions. Engineer Junho befriended a Concord technician during a joint repair project. My great-grandparents died in the Cygnus Offensive, the alien told him while they worked. It's why I joined up. To avenge them? Junho asked. The technician's inner eyelids blinked in confusion. No, because it's what we do. My family has served for 70 generations. Similar conversations happened throughout the station. The humans discovered that most individuals fought not from hatred, but from duty and tradition. The war had become a way of life, the only way of life they knew. One evening, anthropologist Minseo approached Jin-young with an observation. They don't truly see each other anymore, she said. 800 millennia of propaganda has made them blind. But they see us clearly because we're new. Jin-young considered this. Then perhaps we can help them see each other again. She called the team together. We need to find the truth, the real beginning of this conflict. If we can understand why this war started, maybe we can help end it. Peacemaker's mission shifted. While maintaining diplomatic relations with both sides, the humans secretly began searching for the war's forgotten origins. They would need to look beyond the propaganda and ritual to find answers buried under 800,000 years of conflict. The human team settled into a routine aboard the massive station. While formal negotiations continued, researchers, Do-hyun and Junho, sought permission to access the station's historical archives. These ancient data repositories contained records from thousands of species across millions of years. You wish to study war history? Asked the archive keeper, a small six-eyed being named Gami, who had maintained the records for over 200 years. We want to understand how the conflict began, Do-hyun explained carefully. To help us decide our position, Gami's eyes blinked in sequence. Most species simply choose based on benefits offered. Your approach is unusual. Nevertheless, the keeper granted them access to the public archives, carefully curated histories maintained by both factions. The Luminous Concord's version detailed an unprovoked attack on their peaceful colony world. The Void Dominion's records showed the Concord stealing a sacred energy source. Both events supposedly happened 800,000 years ago. After 3 weeks of study, Do-hyun gathered the human team in their private quarters. These stories contradict each other completely, he said, frustration evident in his voice. And both sides have modified their histories over time to make their enemies look worse. What about neutral accounts? Asked Jin-young. Technician Junho shook his head. The few neutrals who recorded the early war were eventually absorbed into one faction or the other. Their records were corrected afterward. The breakthrough came unexpectedly. While helping Gami repair a damaged data terminal, Junho noticed something odd in the system architecture. This database has hidden partitions, he said, pointing to the holographic display. Old ones, using encryption that hasn't been standard for millennia. Gami's eyes widened. Those are sealed by ancient protocol. No one accesses them. Why not? Junho asked. Because that is how it has always been, Gami replied, sounding uncertain for the first time. That night, with Gami's reluctant help, Junho bypassed the ancient security. What they found shocked them. An original archive predating the censored histories, preserved by an automated system too old to be recognized by modern security. For 3 days, the human team worked continuously, translating and analyzing the Yao data. When they finally emerged, they called for a special meeting with representatives from both factions. In a rare occurrence, senior officials agreed to be in the same room. Commander Taiho himself represented the Luminous Concord, while Sub-Imperator Yuna spoke for the Void Dominion. Each brought a small security team, standing stiffly on opposite sides of the circular chamber. Ambassador Jin-young took the central position. Thank you for coming. We've discovered information about the origins of your conflict that might change everything. Taiho's face remained expressionless. Our historians have documented the treachery that began this necessary struggle. As have ours, Yuna added coldly. Jin-young nodded. But what if both accounts are wrong? She gestured to Do-hyun, who activated a holographic display showing ancient star charts. 800,000 years ago, Do-hyun began, there was only one advanced civilization in this region of the galaxy, a species called the progenitors. The display showed biological data of a tall, elegant species with characteristics recognizable in both current factions. The progenitors expanded rapidly, establishing colonies across hundreds of systems. As they spread, two main cultural groups formed: the light-bearers who valued artistic and philosophical advancement, and the void travelers who focused on technological innovation and resource development. Both Taiho and Yuna shifted uncomfortably. These names were ancient terms still used in religious contexts by their people. Researcher Minseo continued the presentation. These weren't separate species, just cultural differences within the same civilization. They complemented each other and traded resources peacefully for thousands of years. Do-hyun changed the display to show a strange, celestial phenomenon. Then a rare stellar event occurred in the system Zaris Prime, a binary neutron star merger that created unprecedented energy signatures. The room grew completely silent as the delegates recognized the name. Zaris was still fought over regularly. Even now, both cultural groups sent teams to study this phenomenon, Junho explained. The light-bearers to understand its spiritual significance, the void travelers to harness its energy. They established a joint research station. Ambassador Jin Young stepped forward again. This is where tragedy struck. The station's translation system malfunctioned during a critical negotiation about resource rights. What one side intended as shared development with equal benefits was mistranslated as exclusive exploitation with minimal compensation. She displayed ancient communication logs showing the cascading misunderstandings, culminating in a security incident where 3 researchers died. Neither side fired first, she said softly. A power surge caused an explosion that both sides misinterpreted as an attack. The humans watched as the 2 faction leaders studied the evidence. For beings whose entire civilization was built around this conflict, the truth was devastating. Our analysis shows something else remarkable, Minseo added. Genetic testing confirms that both your peoples descended from the same progenitor species. The physical differences between you developed later, through evolutionary adaptation to different environments and deliberate genetic engineering during the war. Taiho stood rigid, centuries of training controlling his reaction. If this is true, it changes nothing, Yuna interrupted. 800,000 years of blood cannot be erased by ancient history. But in her eyes and Taiho's, the humans saw the first flicker of something new, doubt about the foundations of their eternal war. The human delegation moved quickly after their revelation. While the leadership of both factions publicly dismissed the ancient evidence, private communications told a different story. Lower-ranking officials from both sides began requesting meetings with the Earth team. Ambassador Jin Young sat across from Counselor Kyung, a senior diplomat from the Void Dominion. His gray skin had the texture of weathered stone, and his eyes narrowed as he studied the human. Your proposal is naive, he said flatly. 800,000 years of war cannot be undone by good intentions. Jin Young didn't flinch. Perhaps, but what has your wisdom accomplished in 800 millennia? Kyung's mouth twitched, the closest thing to a smile his species could manage. You have courage, human. But courage alone will not convince the High Imperator. We don't need to convince your leaders immediately, Jin Young replied. We only need to create space for a new possibility. The human plan unfolded in 3 stages. First, they proposed a small neutral corridor between territories, a buffer zone where ships from both sides could travel without weapons active. Military. Historian Jihoon worked with security teams from both factions to establish protocols. Your patrol vessels will move in parallel formations, he explained to officers from both sides, close enough to observe each other but not to engage. Commander Beck of the Luminous Concord scoffed. And when the Dominion ships inevitably attack? Officer Jinwoo of the Void Dominion bristled. Your treachery is well known, Conquered Dog. Jihoon stepped between them. This is exactly why humans will staff monitoring stations along the corridor. We have no history with either side. Both can trust our neutrality. The corridor opened 3 months later. Despite predictions of disaster, the joint patrols maintained discipline. For the first time in thousands of generations, ships from both factions shared space without combat. The second phase involved cultural exchange. Anthropologist Minseo designed programs that brought together scientists, artists, and educators from both sides to work on mutual challenges. Focus on problems that affect both your civilizations, she advised the first nervous gathering. Start with something concrete that benefits everyone. They chose environmental restoration of worlds damaged by centuries of warfare. The practical nature of the work gave participants a neutral topic to discuss while quietly building relationships. Engineer Junho noticed something important during these exchanges. They're starting to see each other as people, he told Jin Young. One evening. Not just enemies. The third phase was most ambitious. Ambassador Jin Young proposed a Truth and Reconciliation Commission with representatives from both factions and neutral species. Its purpose was to document wartime atrocities without assigning blame, acknowledging suffering on all sides. This is madness, High Commander Taiho said when the proposal reached him. It will only reopen ancient wounds. Yet public opinion across both territories had begun shifting. Ordinary citizens tired of endless war pressed their leaders to participate. The revelation that both sides descended from the same ancestors had spread, despite official attempts to suppress it. The peace process faced its greatest test when extremist faction leader Dong He launched an unauthorized attack against the neutral station. His small fleet dropped out of hyperspace without warning. Weapons charged. The human lies must be silenced. He broadcast on all frequencies. War is our way. As station alarms blared, something unprecedented happened. Ships from both coalitions moved to intercept the attackers. For the first time in 800,000 years, Concord and Dominion vessels fought side by side. The battle lasted only minutes. Surrounded by former enemies now protecting the same target, Dong He's forces surrendered. The extremist leader was taken into custody by a joint security team. In the aftermath, Ambassador Jin Young addressed an emergency council including leaders from both factions. Today proves what we've been saying, she said, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. You're not natural enemies. You defended this peace station together because deep down, you recognize a shared future is possible. High Imperator Jiwu of the Void Dominion rose slowly. For security reasons, she appeared via hologram, her first direct communication with conquered leadership in decades. The human speaks truth we have long denied, she said, each word carefully measured. This conflict has consumed resources that could have built wonders across the galaxy. Commander Taiho nodded slightly, a momentous gesture from someone whose ancestors had fought Jiwus for countless generations. Perhaps it is time to consider terms beyond temporary ceasefire. From that pivotal moment, formal peace negotiations began. The process would be lengthy and difficult, with centuries of mistrust to overcome. But the foundation had been laid. Later that night, Jin Young found Do Hyun staring out at the stars from the observation deck. Did you ever think we'd get this far? She asked. No, he admitted. But that's our advantage. We haven't been conditioned by 800 millennia of thinking something is impossible. The station's lights dimmed for night cycle, but the corridor between opposing fleets stayed illuminated. A pathway of light cutting through the darkness between ancient enemies. The cherry blossoms swayed gently in the spring breeze as delegates from across the galaxy gathered in Seoul's Peace Park. 2 years had passed since the first tentative ceasefire. Now representatives from both former coalitions stood together under Earth's open sky to sign the Comprehensive Treaty of Earth. Supreme Commander Taiho of the Luminous Concord approached the ceremonial table first. His silver uniform caught the sunlight as he lifted the ancient stylus, a deliberate choice to use physical signatures rather than digital authentication. Some traditions were worth preserving. 800,000 years end today, he said, his voice carrying across the hushed gathering. High Imperator Jiwu followed, her dark robes contrasting with Taiho's brightness, a visual reminder of their long-standing differences. Yet as she signed her name below his, their hands briefly touched. Neither pulled away. Not an ending, she corrected. A beginning. Ambassador Jin Young watched from nearby, surrounded by the human team that had made this moment possible. Their journey had been difficult and dangerous. 3 team members hadn't lived to see this day, lost during an extremist attack 6 months earlier. They would be proud, Do-hyun whispered, noting her tears. Jin Young nodded. I still can't believe we did it. The ceremony continued as representatives from thousands of species added their signatures or biological markers to the treaty. Many worlds had known nothing but war for countless generations. Now they committed to a future of cooperation. Later, that evening, a smaller gathering took place at the observatory overlooking the Sea of Japan. Supreme Commander Taeho stood beside High Imperator Jiwoo, both watching Earth's ocean below them. It's beautiful, Taeho admitted. Different from our worlds. Perhaps that's why they could see what we could not, Jiwoo replied. They hadn't learned to ignore beauty. Ambassador Jin Young joined them, offering traditional rice wine in small ceramic cups. On Earth, we shared drinks to mark important occasions. The alien leaders accepted the gesture, carefully mimicking Jin Young's motion. As she raised her cup, the taste made Taeho's inner eyelids blink rapidly, while Jiwoo's skin briefly changed color. Strong, Jiwoo noted with approval. Like your species, Taeho added. We've studied your history. You've had your own wars. Jin Young nodded. Many of them brutal and destructive, but none lasting more than a few decades. Humans lack the patience for eternal conflict. A fortunate impatience, Jiwoo observed. The transition from war to peace spread unevenly across the galaxy. Some regions embraced the change immediately, while others approached it with caution. Centuries of military manufacturing couldn't be converted overnight, nor could warrior cultures instantly adopt peaceful purposes. Engineer Junho found himself leading initiatives to repurpose warship factories. These production lines can build exploration vessels instead, he explained to former military engineers from both sides. The skills transfer directly. Meanwhile, Medical Officer Hana coordinated efforts to heal worlds damaged by centuries of conflict. These restoration techniques work on any ecosystem, she told mixed teams working on the devastated planet Ceres 7. Once a major battleground, now the site of the galaxy's largest environmental recovery project. Not everyone welcomed peace. Extremist groups from both former factions launched occasional attacks. Some military leaders attempted coups against their own governments. But without the support of the main power structures, these efforts failed to reignite the larger conflict. Humanity's role in galactic politics expanded rapidly. Earth became the headquarters for the new Galactic Cooperative, an alliance of all former warring parties and neutral species. The position was symbolic but practical. Earth had no historical grievances with any major power. 5 years after the treaty signing, Ambassador Jin Young stood before the first full assembly of the Cooperative Council. Representatives from over 12,000 species filled the massive chamber built specifically for this purpose. We did not end your war because we were wiser or better, she told them. We simply had the advantage of fresh eyes. We asked questions that seemed obvious to us but had become unthinkable to you. She gestured to the great window showing Earth's continents below. Humans are not perfect. Our history contains many shameful chapters. But we learned something valuable from our mistakes, that conflicts end when someone chooses to end them. That evening, in a quiet moment away from celebrations, Supreme Commander Taeho found Jin Young alone on an observation deck. How strange, he said, watching ships from formerly opposing fleets moving peacefully along shared trade routes. That peace would come from a species that had never known our war. Jin Young smiled. Perhaps that was exactly why we could help. We hadn't been taught it was impossible. Across the galaxy, shipyards that had produced weapons for millennia now built vessels of exploration. Research that once focused on more efficient killing now pursued medical breakthroughs and environmental restoration. Children born since the treaty would grow up learning about the war as history, not destiny. 800,000 years of conflict had ended, not through final victory or devastating defeat, but because humans had asked a simple question no one else thought to ask. Why are you still fighting?